Kyle Austin, Mike Griffith from NY.com at Spartan Stadium, where the sky is not falling, despite the loss to Nebraska. Mark D'Antonio got up here, had a message that, his team's moving forward, their goals are still in front of it, and, if you're a fan that thinks that the season's over now, Mark D'Antonio disagrees with you, I think.
Yeah, he does, and also if you're the College Football Playoff Committee looking for Michigan State to suddenly start running the score up on people, Mark D'Antonio says he's not going to do that. He's going to win and let things take care of themselves. And, to an extent, I think that's leaving things, a bit up in the air, Kyle. But, Mark D'Antonio is not going to change who he is and what Michigan State football stands for. And so you're not going to see him, kicking field goals or, having Connor Cook throwing 40-yard touchdown passes halfway through the fourth quarter of a game that's already been decided. He's going to continue to run the football and use time up. And some games will appear closer maybe than they were. We've seen a couple games like that this year, Kyle, that got close at the end because D'Antonio didn't necessarily keep his foot on the accelerator on offense.
They're also getting close at the end because that defense is not stopping anybody through the air right now. I mean, the situation with that secondary, we talked a little bit about it today. Darian Hicks might be back, which would help. But, you're looking at Monty Medeiros, who's barely playing the secondary at all, playing a key role. Do you see any more clarity for that group going forward at this point?
It's almost as if D'Antonio's building for the future. You want to say, there's a national championship you can win here this year. But I do think that they believe they need depth. The fact of the matter is when they go down and play Ohio State in 2 weeks, they're going to need to have 7 or 8 guys that can play in the secondary and handle it. I think it's smart in that sense. And I think, I thought Monty Medeiros played fine at cornerback. I thought he played well, actually. And I think when Darian Hicks gets back, I think that's big. I think November 21st is the date that Michigan State has circled on their calendar. And I think Mark D'Antonio feels like if they go to Columbus and beat the Buckeyes, that they're back in the college football playoff hopes.
Do you think that, though? Could you see a one-loss Michigan State Big Ten champion? What's the percentage that team is in?
What's probably 50-50 because some other things need to happen. Michigan State would really prefer Iowa stay unbeaten, so they would play a highly ranked Iowa team in the Big Ten championship game. They need a little help. They need the Oregon Ducks to beat Stanford on Saturday. That's a really, really big game to keep MSU playoff hopes alive. If Oregon beats Stanford and knocks the Ducks down, really the only Pac-12 threat left that could go over Michigan State might be Utah. And I kind of think Utah's got another loss left in them. So, they need that to happen. They need a little bit to happen in the Big 12. Maybe Baylor, Oklahoma knocks off Baylor. Maybe Oklahoma loses to somebody else. Things have to happen. And they did last year for Ohio State. But, and this is where it's different, Ohio State beat Wisconsin 59-0, and Mark D'Antonio is not going to beat anyone 59-0.
Well, my question is going to be how much will the conference championship matter to the committee? Because you could be looking at, say Michigan State does run the table, they're a one-loss conference championship to Nebraska. What if LSU runs the table? They're not going to be in that SEC championship game. Would a one-loss SEC non-champion, are they the second team in? To me, a lot of people are counting on that Big Ten championship, kind of elevating them into that. But I'm not so sure that that's going to matter that much to the committee.
It's hard to say. It's really hard to say. They seem to change week to week, and they kind of have their rankings, and then they come up with the reasons to justify it.
Right.
Last year we heard a lot about game control. Then last Tuesday night we heard from Jeff Long, the committee chairman, that it was because Clemson had beaten 4 teams that had a record of 500 or better.
Which I had never heard as a metric before.
And how many times? And meanwhile, Michigan State had beaten 5 teams with a record of 500 and better, was sitting at number 7. So there's a lot of convenient logic and shuffling around. And I suppose you could make a case for any team or against any team, as I've done, as Kyle's done. And I guess that's still what makes college football fun in the end. But instead of having a poll with maybe 50 coaches and another poll with 75 media members, now you've got just this council of 10 that somehow hold all the power. And, it's kind of in their hands what they think of Michigan State. So I think a lot of it is, even though Mark D'Antonio said today that he wasn't going to worry about style points, I do think to some degree he has to. I think they need to beat Maryland in impressive fashion. I think they need to, if they beat Ohio State, it can't be on a last-second play because there's some people that still discount the
I think you beat Ohio State. You beat Ohio State.
And Penn State at home will be another important game, and it will not be an easy game whether they win or lose at Ohio State, Kyle.
Well, it'll be an interesting 3 weeks no matter what here. Stay with mlive.com/Spartans, noon Saturdays to kick off.
And don't forget about basketball Friday night, right?
I thought we were talking football, but
we can say basketball.
Florida Atlantic Friday night, first opener should be a pretty easy one, but Kansas next week will be the big one. I'm sure we'll talk about that coming up. So a lot of stuff going on here in East Lansing. Stay with mlive.com/Spartans.